Here we are, just outside the castles of Babblot, where King Berkey and his little jester Badger like to stroll around, looking at board games that were planted in the years gone by, and seeing which of these are still standing in the woods of Evergreen.
Hey, we are live, Berkey and Badger, and our Woods of Evergreen show. We are talking about games that stand the test of time from
2014. Sorry. 14. I wasn't ready for that cue.
Games from 2014. Wow, I got to tell you, Badger, when I looked at this list and started seeing all the games in 2014, I was like, oh, I mean, we could do this list for several, multiple shows.
Yeah, we could do a top 50.
Wow, there's some great games.
There are some great titles. But what has crawled to the top? Which ones have we chosen to name our trees in our large evergreen forest? Well, wood, not forest. It's not forest yet. We'll get to the forest soon. One day it'll be a forest because so many good games. But yeah, these are games which are games that we come back to all the time. And we've both picked 3 from the year 2014. And we've put a little plaque on the tree in Evergreen Woods. And we're going to tell you what those games are.
Ooh. So do you want to start with one of your games from 2014?
2014. Yes, I could do. Oh, there's one right there on the floor.
Now we have to caveat here. We are not saying these are necessarily our favorite games of 2014, but games that we feel are really great games, still stand the test of time. We want to play them. We think they're great games. They may or may not be in our top games.
Yeah. But as you said, they would stood the test of time. There's nothing as good as these in my eyes. There's no games better than these, right? For example. So I'm going to start by Little Mermaid. And start singing Under the Sea.
Oh boy.
Under the sea, there's nothing better. Down where it's wetter. Take it from me. This is the shaky box of Abyss. Now, Abyss is a game from Bruno Cathala and Charles Chevalier, which came out. And when it first came out, I was not a big fan of it because I looked at it and I thought, well, it's just a card game. There's nothing great about it. Why has it got a board? Why has it got pearls? But it's not until you play it and that you start to see the profound depths of this game. This game has so many layers going on and so many different things that you can do. Even though at the beginning of the game, this is a great game to teach. This is an easy game to teach because you can teach it bit by bit as it goes on. But it's just, there's so much going on. And you could say that the game is unbalanced, but at the same time, it is very balanced due to the fact that there is something for everybody. There's some way for you to get pearls. There's some way for you to get cards. There's some way for you to get domains. And there's no real kind of route to victory with this game. I've seen players play and go all out storm for keys to get the domains to lock and end the game. I've seen players not do that and win the game. It is a game which has, multiple facets and avenues that you can go down. It also has expansions as well, which is nice. I do like playing the base game on its own, but the expansion I have, the Leviathan, adds an extra element to the fighting, which I think kind of like lifts this base game up from a 9 to a 9.5 in my eyes. The artwork is amazing. This game is still available. It's had its 5th year anniversary edition, which came out last year, and it also has a soundtrack, as you probably all know, done by somebody that's talking in a very dull kind of voice, very slowly, as if he was a lord from the sea.
It's such a great choice. I was curious how many carryovers we would have. I had a inclination that this would be one of your favorite games, so I didn't add it to my list. But I love Abyss. My daughter Gabrielle loves this. You have the crab guy there on the front cover because they did like, was it 4 or 5 different covers?
5 different covers for each of the different races in the game.
Yeah, and really a unique marketing. But this game was widely heralded as one of the best artistic games of the year. So I love the artwork. I love the simplicity and the accessibility of the game, and yet not feeling like I'm playing a real dumbed down type of game. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and like you say, it's in that Spiel des Jahres type of category in my mind, because it's kind of that family weight type of game, but really, really fun.
Yeah, and when you first play it, you will be a bit like, what the hell is going on here? But it all starts making sense quite easily. And then it's, as I said, it's a case of you having to wade through the water to find your own route to victory. And that's one of the great things about it. And it's not until you've played it several times that you can say, right, I've got a plan. This is what I'm going to do. And then when cards come out and lords come out, you go, okay, and I'm going to change my plan because I could do that with that and combine this with this. And so it's not a game that you sit back and relax. It's a game that you are constantly in competition, because there's a lot of interaction between the players, because you're not bidding, but there's the bidding, and then you're kind of like pushing your luck. There's so many different aspects in this game which are really good. The bidding, the push your luck, the strategy of the Lord, the currency.
I mean, getting their tableau built. I mean, that's part of it, and to know when those keys are the right time to release it, because then you lose that ability, but you're gaining points, and that there's a real fine balance of when you need to do that.
Yeah. So
I agree with you. There's a lot going on there, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, fantastically fun. There you go. Abyss, one of my choices for 2014. Over to you, sir.
This is in one of my favorite games of all time. It's in my top 10. This game comes from Tasty Minstrel Games, and the designer is Rainer Stockhausen, if I'm pronouncing that right. But this game is Orleans.
Ooh.
I have the deluxeified edition, and that's what Tasty Minstrel kind of coined that term, deluxeified, with all the special bits. I have a special insert for the game. But what's really cool about this game is, if you can see the back here, there is a track where you're building your trade houses, but then you have these, this is a bag building type of game, and you've got all these tiles, and you're trying to move up the track on the different tracks, the night track, for instance, so that you can pull more tiles, or the boat track, or the farming track, so you can get extra points. And you're pulling these, and so there's that type of expectation when you're actually pulling tiles out of the game. But then you also have this map where you're going to collect resources, and you're competing against other people at the same time to do all of this. And there's a little bit of you pretty much can play simultaneously, but there's a little bit of a pushback there when it starts getting really tight. Every time we've played this game, and I'm sure I've played this game over a dozen times. I've just got the 2 new expansions. I haven't played the new cooperative version yet, but they're sitting on my shelf of shame. But this game, top 10, always a pleasure to play. Plays in an hour and a half. It's a little bit to set up, but not too bad. Just absolutely my kind of game.
Never played it. Got an amusing story. My wife has played it though.
Oh,
yes. A long time ago, practically when it first came out, we were going to our gaming group, and she was totally nullified by the rules explanation. She didn't know what she was doing. She was just pulling tokens out of the bag, and she walked away from the table with a big smile on her face, saying, "I won. I didn't understand what I did, but I won."
Oh. Oh, it's too bad she had a bad bad teach. It's not overly complex. I mean, there's a ton going on that you can do. There's multiple paths to victory. So there's a lot of strategies you can try and employ. And I think that's the fun part about it. I think it has a massive amount of replayability. I'll play it anytime without any concern. And I've played it with a variety of different player counts and player groups and gaming preferences, that kind of thing. And it's just always been a hit.
Yeah, cool.
So great game.
Good.
Tasty Minstrel Games, Orleans. Go check it out.
Go check it out. Also, go and check out this guy.
This video was made possible with the help of Game Toppers. Upgrade your gaming experience with a Game Topper.
Oh, look, he's there. And he's here. I was the one rolling them out on the table. Yes, Game Toppers are one of the sponsors of the show. As you know, Berkey there is the chef of the Game Topper itself. Yeah, wrong nipple, mate. Wrong nipple. Point to the right nipple. That's the one with the hat.
That one.
Yeah.
I got to do it backwards. It's like a trick. Yeah, it's thank you for that. Game Toppers is about 95% fulfilled in the United States. We're just waiting about 2 weeks for our cup holders. They'll all ship out in our sculpted Viking and Dragon toppers that are just gorgeous from Dogmite Games. They're shipping out right within the next week or so. All of our mat storage racks are also going out next week. And then we're shipping containers to Canada and to Europe, and then also to Australia. So super excited about all of that. And if you order now in the United States, you'll get a topper, and everything that we have in stock ships out in generally 2 to 3 business days.
Cool.
So check us out at GameToppersLLC.com.
There you go. Isn't he great? He's a wonderful speaker, which will lead us on to our next game. Oh, what are you doing here, Berkey?
Oh, I'm just doing stuff here. I'm just checking to make sure that you pay your taxes.
Yes.
It's the good sheriff of Nottingham.
Yes, my next game, one of my evergreens is Sheriff of Nottingham. There's no game like this that is like this. This is a light, fun, family bluffing game. And I think Berkey is actually holding up a copy as well. Oh, look at that. No, this isn't blatant advertising, but no, seriously, this game is a bundle of laughs, especially if you have the right group. There are groups of people that just don't get it. You say playing a game and they want to play a game, but this isn't a game. This is a meta game inside a game, because you could just follow the rules and put some cards in a sack and give it to someone and say, yeah, there's 3 chickens in there. But there's no fun in that.
Plump chickens, mind you. Very plump chickens.
They could be plump, or they could be like, scrawny because they've only been fed, dry grass.
Only the finest plump chickens are suitable for Prince John's feast.
But when this game actually comes alive is when there's someone animated. So there's a bit of a caveat for this game. But as I said, it's an evergreen for me. this game is just so much fun with the right people at the table. You're just constantly making in-house jokes, and you're constantly just bantering and riffing off of each other. It's a bluffing game. It's a physical bluffing game. You put some cards into a bag, you're giving it to someone and saying, that's what's in the bag. Let me have my bag back. And then there's this negotiation of, I'm actually going to open it and double check, because I believe you're lying and there's something in here which shouldn't be in here. And if they're right, you have to pay them. If they're wrong, they pay you. And it's just trying to get as many of these resources as possible across the line. Obviously, the illegal ones are more rewarding than the normal legal ones. But there's a set collection aspect to the game, as well as lots of different cards which come in the game. The components are really good. The cards are very good quality. The coins are good. I kind of wish that it was for more players. 3 players is the minimum, and I wouldn't recommend that. 4, 5 is good. I would like to play 8. I think 8 would be good.
Yeah, you can play 6 with the expansion, the Merry Men.
Yeah. It needs more players, and it's one of those games that once you've finished playing and you've gisted everyone, you've kind of like got a rough idea. This guy's devious, I've got to watch him. This guy's always honest. That's when you replay, and then you play again, just to try and justify your thoughts and feelings about this person is a good liar or a bad liar or whatever. So that's big hit, especially with my daughter. Well, Sheriff of Nottingham.
Beings we are both doing that, we'll call this a dual review, because this is one that I picked out as well.
All right.
Of course, I'm biased on this game because we had the opportunity to do our first board game theater episode, The Sheriff of Nottingham, where my entire family is dressed in costume particular to the artwork. The costume that my daughters Hannah and Maddie made for The Sheriff of Nottingham is like precise to the artwork of the game. It's really a phenomenal costume. Very difficult to wear. And I had the opportunity to help Arcane Wonders at many shows demonstrate The Sheriff of Nottingham as a game. But then our YouTube channel launched at Board Game Theater, and that video has had about 6,000 views to it. So it's had, kind of a mild success that people really enjoyed that. And it has a special place in our heart. But I totally agree. The bluffing aspect and the set collection, the competition, and trying to get the contraband into Prince John's Feast, and almost the double bluffing that goes on becomes a real skill, because you almost want them to open, because if they open your bag and you're telling the truth, the sheriff actually has to pay you the coin. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most coins wins, and you get coins also for the set collections. Who's the king of chickens, and who's the king of bread, and who's the king of cheese, and all that. So I think I hear what you're saying too regarding group dependent. If you have a group of very quiet players who just tend to think mathematically and don't really want to engage in conversation, this will be kind of boring. It can be played. I agree with you. Player count 4 to 5 is really best. 6. I like the Merry Men expansions, but I don't really care for the 2 new characters that they brought into the game versus the sheriff. You've got the warden and the other guy. I liked everything else in the expansion and the extra player, but I didn't care for that particular one. I forget what the one's called now, but overall it was fine. But top 10 game for our family every time we play this game. We just we set it up when we started our Game Topper campaign just for visual and just to show the game and all of us playing and having fun. Well, we had it all set up and we were done filming, and we thought, well, it's set up, let's just play. And we laughed and played, and I mean, that's the way it always is for this game, but we get into it and have a blast.
But that's one thing that the game needs, is it doesn't, in the rule book, it doesn't really kind of convey that The only way that you can convey that's how the game plays is in a video. And luckily, I think your video was the one that knocked the nail on the head for me, and I bought it. And that was just before I started to know you. So
yeah, that's about the time, because that's close to 5 years ago now.
2000, yeah,
6 years ago. Yeah. Well, we did it probably right after that. I actually met the designer Sergio Halaban, and I know Brian Pope obviously very well from Arcane Wonders, and that's when I first met Scott Morris Talks. And I actually made 3 of those Sheriff of Nottingham crests out of wood and clay with a great big heavy chain. And I gave one to Scott, gave one to Brian Pope, and then I had one. And and one to Tom Vassell.
All right.
And so it was very limited, just as a kind of a gift for the game that was kind of cool. But it was the actual one that I wore on the costume.
That's the one thing that's missing. Instead of having that little figurine, the chain. Maybe in a 10th anniversary edition, huh, Brian?
I think. Well, I have my good friend Ron Shady. He actually, the artwork, by the way, he's
the real Ron Shady, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, Ron. He painted. I sent him my miniature.
Yep.
Of Sheriff, and he painted it.
It's gorgeous.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh, let's go big screen. We need to go big screen for that.
Hey. You don't have 4 plump chickens. He
has them in his belly.
Off with his head.
Oh, I'm sorry. So there you go.
Well, there you go. So my 3rd game, then I'll just move right along.
I'll cut in before then, because that kind of like gateways and segues into our other sponsor who actually made the game, Arcane Wonders. And they recently did a Kickstarter called Foundations of Rome, a glorious large box of family fun. I won't talk about it. I'll let my recorded self talk about it.
The city-building board game Foundations of Rome puts you in the role of an architect, competing to own land and build magnificent structures. Build doomuses, fountains, foundries, and more to increase your renown, gain glory for yourself and the Empire. With 96 wonderfully detailed miniatures in the base game, Foundations of Rome is a testament to the glory of Rome that you can bring to the table.
Ooh, beautiful. Yes, there you go. A beautiful game. You can late pledge. Go along to Kickstarter and go to Arcane Wonders, and you can late pledge from there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I can't hear you, but I'll just keep talking then. Yeah, Arcane Wonders has just been such a great sponsor, and so much fun having gotten to know that team and the quality and the energy that they put into all of their products. Foundations of Rome is such a great game by Emerson Matsuuchi. What a great guy. I just love Emerson, and fantastic designer. Did Century Spice Road and many other games of acclaim. And Foundations of Rome, they knocked it out of the park. This is going to be, it's one of my most anticipated Kickstarters coming out this next year. And we did the special Foundations of Rome Roman themed game topper game mat. And you can get it in a 3-foot by 5-foot on their late pledge manager. And then later you'll be able to get them from Game Toppers in our other sizes. So you can go to arcanewonders.com.
That's exactly what I said.
So I wonder how I get your mic back.
Deary me. There's only one thing to do. You're going to have to log off and log back in again.
Yeah.
You can't hear me, can you?
Should I just talk? Because I can't hear you.
Log off and
live
on
TV, everybody.
Again. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do it on Facebook.
All right. Well, I will go with my next game, but I'm not going to be able to interact with Badger on this because I can't hear him. But my game comes from a company called Portal Games, and Ignacy Chevacek is just, in my opinion, one of the really fantastic designers. And I'll go ahead and explain what I think about this, and I'll log off, come back in, and hopefully be able to hear Barry when he talks about his last game. So you guys can hear us. Thanks, Trent. Fantastic. But this game is one of my favorite type of card tableau games. I hardly ever play a solo game, but this particular game, I really enjoyed solo, which really surprised me. But this game is Imperial Settlers. Imperial Settlers has several different factions. They have the Romans and the Egyptians. They have the barbarians. They have the Japanese Empire, I believe. It has the new Amazon expansions. And this is basically a card game, but you're pulling off these tableaus and you're collecting resources and you're building upon one another. But eventually you have to burn them to move them over to get extra points over here from here. And you're collecting resources all along, and you're competing against the other races that are the other factions that are going on in the game. And I just find it just a really satisfying puzzle. I just love this game, and I know they have a new game out that the Raiders of the North or something like that. I love this game. And I played it solo one time when I was away on a little retreat, and I never do that. And it started out kind of, okay, why am I doing this? And then all of a sudden it got really tense, and I didn't think I was going to win. And all of a sudden I was really going for it. And I went, wow, that was really fun, even though I was just sitting there by myself, you know? So Imperial Settlers from Ignacy Chevacek and Portal Games. Now I'm going to log out and come back in.
So there you have it. That was his third game. I've played Imperial Settlers, and this was again way back when I first came to France, and it was explained to me. It was quite intuitive, but I didn't really kind of grasp it. Missed opportunity. It might be a game that I need to come back to and play again. So how are we doing? Have you listed any of these as your top games of 2014? Write a comment down below. Give us some feedback. Here he is.
He's back.
There you go.
And now I can hear you.
You can hear me. So I'm going to move on to my last choice for this episode. This game, you mentioned Emerson, Matsuchi, and Spice Road. I've played that game, but I didn't kind of like go, sorry, Emerson. I know you're a fan of the show and you're a fan of us. But it didn't, I don't know, it didn't have the potential to knock this off the list. Splendor, which is kind of like what it's been compared to. Splendor is just a pure, perfect information game where you are either picking up gems or trading gems for mines, which are actually cards, which will generate gems, which you then buy more mines with, and then hopefully influence an important person. And everything gives you points. Like the very expensive mines will give you points. These nobles will give you points. And it's just an engine generating game, which is very simple. The rule sets are simple. The card art is okay. It's a card game. It's a very minimalistic kind of game, but it's this engine which really gets my juices flowing. I just love this perfect information. You can plan your route out and plan. I kind of like plan out several routes, of what gems I'm going to go after, what mines I'm going to go after. And if someone takes the things that I want, then I got these little backups. So I have for this me, this game has its core emotion because it's a game that I know how to program and how to ride the rails with it. So I love it. And luckily my family enjoy playing it as well. And so we get to this kind of competitive game. This is a competitive game. This game comes out quite a lot onto our table still. So this is definitely an evergreen, a game that's never gonna wilter and fade away. It's simple, it's solid. I do have the expansion. I've tried the expansions. I just prefer the base game.
Huh. Yeah, I have an interesting story about Splendor. I agree with you. It's just has such a nice, simple engine to it, and comparing Century Spice Road and its iterations, I really like Century Spice, the Golem edition, better than the standard edition, actually. And I know there's 2 additional, so I love that game. But Splendor, it's one of these ticket to ride family weight games. It's so accessible, so easy to bring to the table with a variety, even non-gamers. And we went to the National AGM show in Washington, D.C. a couple years ago with my daughters and their costume company, as they're the national clothiers for the Jane Austen Society. So we were dressed up in costume, of course, and helping them with their booth and whatnot. But one of the apprentices, her and her husband and their infant, were with us, and we got to play some games, and I brought Splendor. We played that game, and they just loved it. They just went on and on about it. So I just gave it to them, and they were just like, they were so thrilled because they've been able to play that with so many people. And then I all of a sudden I realized it wasn't in the collection. I thought, I gotta find me a copy of Splendor somewhere. And so I ended up repurchasing Splendor, and it's still sitting over there in its shrink wrap, though, surprisingly. So probably got to get that one out again. But yeah, it's a fun little game.
Yeah, I think the best bit about it is the fact that you just get it out and you don't need to read the rules. That's a great thing about some of these games. Abyss, there's a little bit of rule reading if you haven't played it for a while. But Sheriff of Nottingham, Splendor, I just get them out and bam.
Yep.
We're playing. So
yeah, I love that about a game that you've enjoyed it enough to play it multiple times. And I think that's one of the big problems with gaming right now is there's so many titles that we all want to try these new games and the new mechanisms and experiences and all of that. But the opportunity to play it multiple times now is so much more diminished. But when you get these games, like all of these games I've mentioned, I've played these many, many times, and probably a dozen each. Sheriff of Nottingham and Orleans the most, of course, but love to be able to do that so that it's a little more fresh in your memory. You don't have to rehearse a long rule set.
Yeah. So there you have it.
2014, The Woods of Evergreen, games that we think stand the test of time. We'll be back in a few more weeks, and we're going to talk about the year 2015, and we're just going to keep going, and then we're going to go back to the year 2000 and start all over again.
We go back to the year dot and start all over again.
In 1623, this dexterity game.
And in 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles Underground. Today, they're still wanted by the government and survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, it'd be you can hire Berkey and Badger.
The A-team.
Wow, that just came out of nowhere.
Oh my goodness, that was brilliant. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining us at Berkey and Badger. We just had a wonderful show with the Stephen Bonacore.
The retired Stephen Bonacore.
Yeah. Congratulations to Stephen and all that he has done for the hobby and Stronghold Games, indie boards, and cards. He's definitely not going anywhere. You're going to still see him, but you can check out our last show on YouTube and the new iTunes professional audio show will be launched shortly. And you'll be able to listen to past episodes of Berkey and Badger where we have special guests on the show. We talk about different that type of thing.
Yeah.
So with that said, you can check us out at Berkey and Badger on Board Games Everybody Should, Barry's website, or BoardGameTheater.com, or check us out at Twitter, Berkey and Badger, or Facebook, Berkey and Badger, and our Board Game Geek Guild 2248. And we would love to connect with you. Tell us the games that you thought were great from 2014.
Thank you very much. Bye.
We're so glad we had this time together. Now it's time to go. It won't be long until we have another show. So keep us in mind, get online. Berkey and Badger will be back in no time.